Hey, you guys. Happy New Year. Look what I got for Christmas. Ha ha ha. It's called a melodeon. And I've wanted one ever since I saw John Baptiste playing one on the Stephen Colbert show. And my husband got me one for Christmas. Isn't that cool? So you can see it's got a keyboard pattern on it. I already know how to play a keyboard pattern, so even though this is a brand new instrument that I've never had the opportunity to play before, I already know how to play it because I know the keyboard pattern, just like on my 88 key keyboard. Now the way you play melodeon is by blowing it and pressing the keys. So I find my C key, just like on our xylophones, and I go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. So one of the things that we're going to learn in the next few weeks is we're going to get really familiar with the keyboard pattern, and we're also going to start learning about treble clef. It may seem a little hard at first, but once you get used to it, it won't be hard anymore. It'll be easy. And then you'll know how to read a treble clef and use a keyboard pattern for the rest of your life. Okay, all right, so we're going to do that. But first we have to review some stuff. Let's review pulse. So the pulse is the heartbeat of the song. It's what holds the song together. Boom, 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 boom. Jingle bells, jingle bells. And we separate the pulse using a 2 count, a 3 count, or 4 count. And the way we show that is with a time signature, which is 2 numbers stacked on top of each other like this. It kind of looks like a fraction, but it's not a fraction, so don't think of it as a fraction. It's just 2 numbers. So if it's a 2 count, you'll see a 2-4 time signature. If it's a 3 count, you'll see a 3-4 time signature. And if it's a 4 count, you'll see a 4-4 time signature. So let's do our counting. So let's do a 2 count. Ready, go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's do a 3 count. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's do a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now, let's review the written music symbols that we've learned about. So, the line that you put your notes and rests on, that's called a staff. If you have more than one staff, the plural of staff is staves. Although some people do say staffs, but I don't like to say staffs. I like to say staves. Just sounds better to me. You separate your staves into segments according to which count you're using by putting in bar lines. So the bar lines are the vertical lines, the up and down lines. I made them blue so you could see. Bar lines, see? Now the space between the 2 bar lines is a measure, and you hear me use that word all the time in music class. Which measure are we on? So on this staff, I have cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4 measures. I'm using a 2 count here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And at the end I have double bar lines, which means stop. Now if I was to put 2 dots there, that would make it a repeat sign, which would mean we'd repeat, but I didn't, so that means stop. Here we have a staff with a 3 count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, double bar line, stop. And on this staff, I have a 4/4 time signature, which is a 4 count, separated by the bar lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Double bar lines at the end means stop. Are you with me so far? Do you remember all of that stuff? You may have forgotten some of it, and that's okay. That's why we're going to go over it again, and over, and over, and over, and over it a lot of times, and then one day you'll get it, and it'll never go away. Okay, so let's review our notes and our rests. The quarter note is a circle filled in with a stem. It gets 1 beat of sound. La. A quarter rest, which looks like a Z attached to a C, or as I sometimes lovingly call it, a squiggly line. That gets 1 beat of silence, which we show with a squeeze, or sometimes if we're vocalizing, we might say shh on the beats of silence. And then we have over here 2 eighth notes hooked together with a bar on the top. That 1/8 note by itself looks like this. Circle filled in with a stem, and you add a flag. So that's 1/8 note. But if you have 2 eighth notes side by side, it's okay to take the flags off and bar them together like that. That way you can see the whole beat. 1 and. So that 1/2 plus 1/2 equals a whole. Don't think about that too much. It can get a little confusing if you're not completely comfortable with fractions yet. So don't worry about that. Instead, let's talk about cake and ice cream. Anytime you see a quarter note, you say cake. And anytime you see 2 eighth notes hooked together with a bar like that, you say ice cream. Oh, and on the rests, let's just go shh. Ready, go. Cake, cake, shh, shh. Ice cream, cake, cake. Now if we're clapping or snapping and squeezing, it would go like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes? All right, now let's do with a 3 count. So now we're going to go cake, 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 ice cream, cake, 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 shh, shh, cake, cake, cake. That was a little fast, so I'm going to slow it down on the next round. This time we're going to do it with snaps and squeezes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's a little example of how 3 count works. Now let's take a look at the 4 count. I got a lot of symbols squeezed into this little line here. Sorry about that, but we're going to make it work, okay? All right, so now we're on a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cake, 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 shh, cake, shh. Ice cream, cake, 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 shh, shh, shh. Or we could do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's our review. Now let's look at some new stuff. We've talked about the musical alphabet in class a little bit, but I haven't really pounded on it. So let's just take a look at that right quick. The musical alphabet only has 7 letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. After that, you repeat the same letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you might be thinking, well, what does that sound like? Is it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G? No. Each time you repeat the letters on the instrument as you're moving along on the keyboard, as you go from left to right, it goes from lower sounds to higher sounds. So just listen and see what this sounds like, okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. So listen how these, I'm going to play 3 A's. A lower A, a medium A, and a higher A. So do you hear how they sound similar? Do you hear how they sound different? So it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like they're the same and different at the same time. So here's an A, here's an A, here's an A. And in music class, a lot of times you'll hear me talk about lower sounds and higher sounds. And some people have a hard time understanding that. What is the difference between a low sound and a high sound? And it's really kind of hard to explain. So I like to think about animals because I like animals. So if you're thinking about a lower sound, let's think about a bullfrog. You know, like a bullfrog, ribbit, have a low sound, ribbit, ribbit. And like if you're thinking about higher sounds, let's think about like birds, you know, tweet, 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 tweet. So that would be like a higher sound, tweet, 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 tweet. And then like a middle sound might be kind of like the way we talk. Hello, hello, how are you today? So human sounds are kind of in the middle. But we'll talk more about that as the year progresses. If you're looking at the keyboard, then the bullfrog sounds are more this way, to the left, and the bird sounds are towards the right. And we have words for that. We have words, bass is for the low sounds, and treble is for the high sounds, and more on that later. Right now, let's talk about the keyboard pattern. When we first start learning about the keyboard, we don't play the black keys. We will eventually. The black keys are there for a reason, and they make sound, and we use them a lot as we get more advanced in music. But to start off with, on the keyboard, we use the pattern of the black keys to let us know where we are on the keyboard. So let's take a look at the black keys. They're grouped in sets of 2 and 3. So let's take a look at that. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. And if I could hold up my keyboard behind me here, you would see that this pattern goes all the way up and down the keyboard. And if you have a piano at home, you've already seen that. Now, I've got a little rhyme that you can use to tell you where the C is. And you might be thinking, well, why don't we start with A? Why are we starting with C? I don't know the answer to that question. But the way it works out is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, the C major scale. If you're a keyboard player, that's the first scale that you learn, because you don't have to use any of the black keys to play it. It's all on the white keys. So that's how it worked out, and that's the way we're going to learn it. So we got 2 black keys, C, D, E. 3 black keys, F, G, A, B. Let's memorize that. And if you can memorize that, then you will never see a keyboard pattern again that you can't figure out where the letters are. 2 black keys, C, D, E. 3 black keys, F, G, A, B. 2 black keys, C, D, E. 3 black keys, F, G, A, B. So let's start here. There's no letters. Let's see if you can remember. 2 black keys, C, D, E. 3 black keys, F, G, A, B. So that's the C major scale on the keyboard. And it just so happens that the C major scale is the same as your solfege pattern. So C equals do, D equals re, E equals mi, F is fa, G is sol, A is la, B is ti, C is do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, I'm throwing a lot of information at you today, but don't freak out, okay? This is a preview of everything that's coming up for the rest of the school year and kind of where we're going with this. You don't have to learn it all in one day. We're going to work on it. But I do want you to see what our destination is. This is a grand staff. And I left off a bracket. Okay. So a grand staff has 2 staves hooked together with a bracket for high, the high staff is for high sounds, la, and the lower staff is for lower sounds, la. And you hook them together, and anytime you see 2 staves hooked together by one long bar line, that means you're reading it at the same time. Piano players read a grand staff like this. Organ players read a grand staff. I'm trying to think of other instruments that read a grand staff. Anyway, not all instruments read a grand staff. And it's a little tricky to get used to at first, but once you get used to it, it's not hard at all. You don't have to worry about reading a grand staff. We're not going to read the grand staff. But I wanted to point a few things out to you. Why do we have a staff at all? Like when we did Jingle Bells, I had one line and I put the letters in there. E, 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 and so on. And you're like, why can't we just do that? Well, because that's not how you do it. I wouldn't be a very good music teacher if I didn't try to get you past that point. That's kind of like training wheels on a bicycle. You use the training wheels until you get where you can ride the bike pretty well. Then you take the training wheels off. Well, the training wheels are coming off, folks. This is how it starts. We show pitch. To show pitch, we need more lines. Because we got to be able to go high, ah, and low, ah, and all the points in between. Got to show up and down. So you could think of this as a ladder. And in a minute, we're going to focus on the treble clef. So this is the treble clef. This is the bass clef. And in a minute, we're going to draw a treble clef, and we're just going to focus on that for a while. That's enough to get started. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this part of the staff. Before we do that, I want you to take a look at this note right here. Notice that it is below the treble clef staff, and if you're writing it in the bass, it's above the bass clef staff. This is a very special note. This is middle C. And you can see why they call it middle C, because it's in the middle of the grand staff. So that's why they call it middle C. So in a minute, when we draw this treble clef staff, you're going to be, I'm going to put that note on there and I'm going to call it middle C. And you're going to be like, but that's not in the middle of anything. It's at the bottom. This is why we call it middle C. Because if you have a grand staff, it's in the middle. Okay, now here's the part where you're going to need some paper and something to write with. You can use a whiteboard and a marker like I'm doing, but or whatever. But I would love it if you could follow along with me on this, because I'm going to show you how to draw a treble clef. This thing right here. Up till now, we've been using a one-line staff, and that's also a thing. But the staves that we're going to be drawing from now on will have 5 lines and 4 spaces. And we always count from the bottom, like this. So on your paper, write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From the bottom to the top. Not from the top down. It has to go from the bottom to the top. That's it. It has to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, let's draw a line. Now, I've done this a lot of times, so I'm pretty good at it. I know that sometimes it's hard to draw straight lines. You can work on that later if you wish. Okay, so we got line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5. The lines are important, but equally important are the spaces in between the lines. Now, when we get on down the line, each one of these lines and each one of these spaces are going to represent a letter in the musical alphabet. But we'll cross that bridge later. Right now, I want to come over here and I want to make circles where the spaces are. So, underneath line 1, we're going to make a circle. We're going to call this space 0. And I like to put lines through my zeros like that. Then we're going to put a circle between line 1 and line 2. This is space 1. Then we're going to put a circle between line 2 and line 3. That is space 2. Again, space 3. Space 4. And sitting on top, space 5. So on this side, we have the lines. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5. And on this side, we've numbered the spaces. Space 0, space 1, space 2, space 3, space 4, and space 5. Now, we're about to draw a treble clef. So let's review what that treble clef looks like by drawing it on this little sticky note. So that's kind of a wonky treble clef. But let's kind of look at the shapes before we get started. So we got a kind of a tall, skinny J shape. And then we swirl that way, and we swirl this way, and then we swirl around the central point. That's what we're getting ready to do. You ready? So let's go to this side. That will be your left side of your staff at the beginning. So if this were a sentence, this would be the first word in the sentence. You want to leave a little bit of space because you don't want it all the way over here on the edge. So we're going to come in about 4 fingers, and we're going to start above line 5. We're going to put a dot. Okay, now we're going to start at that dot, and we're going to draw all the way down, all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way below space 0, and then we're going to hook back up, put another ball on the end. We got a tall, skinny J, like that. You with me so far? Okay. Now find line 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And find where line 4 crosses the J and put a dot right there. You with me so far? I'm probably going to be saying that a lot. Sorry. Okay, now we got to connect these 2 dots. And what we want to do is connect it with a curve that goes this way, like a D. So like a capital D. Okay, next step. Find line 1. Line 1 is on the bottom. Find the place where the J crosses line 1 and put a dot where it crosses. That's called an intersection. When 2 lines cross, it's called an intersection. Now we're going to connect this dot with this dot. But this time we're going to swirl this way, so we're going to use a C shape like that. Okay? Next step. Find line 3. 1, 2, 3. And find the place where the J crosses line 3. The intersection of the J and the 3 is right there. That's our next target. Now this time we're going to start from the bottom dot that we just made, and we're going to go this way. So we're going to use another capital D shape there, like that. Next step. This is the last step. This is the hardest part. Find line 2. 1, 2. Find where line 2 crosses the J. And mark your spot at the intersection of 2 and J. So we got to swirl around that. So we're going to go to our last mark, and then we're going to swirl around. Ta-da! Now let's label it. Let's write T-R-E-B-L-E, and the word clef is C-L-E-F. Treble clef. If you're writing it in cursive, it looks like this. T R E B L E C L E F. Treble clef. Ta-da! Now there's one more thing that we have to do today. I've thrown a lot of information at you. I'm sure that some of it stuck. I'm sure that some of it did not stick. And that's okay. You don't have to learn it all at once. But I'm going to give you just a little bit more to chew on. This is the last thing. Now we're going to see how the treble clef relates to the musical alphabet. And we're going to start with our good friend, middle C. Now, I'm going to use a plain circle, and you will learn later on this year that it is called a whole note. It is an actual note, but for now, we're just going to call it a circle. And I'm going to come below space 0 on my treble clef staff. I'm going to draw the circle, and I'm going to put a line through it. Now, do you remember what this guy is called? Middle C. Now, it doesn't look like it's in the middle of anything in this context. But if you remember the grand staff, the middle C is in the middle between the treble clef and the bass clef. So, middle C is below space 0. Now we're going to go right up the steps. The next circle that I'm going to draw is going to be on space 0. So I'm going to put it right here next to the middle C. Since we're going up one step, we're going from C to D. Can you guess what the next letter is going to be? That's right. It's going to be the letter E. And can you guess where I'm going to put it? I'm going to put it on line 1, like this. Notice that my circle has line 1 going right down the middle of it. That's E. Okay? Can you guess what the next letter is going to be? That's right. C, D, E, F. And can you guess where I'm going to put it? Space 1. So I'm going to give myself a little room. I'm going to draw my circle inside space 1. Nothing running through it. It's all clear. It's a space note. And that is F in space 1. We're going to learn one more for today, and that'll be it for today, because you worked really hard. Okay, can you guess what the next letter is going to be? C, D, E, F. That's right, G. Can you guess where we're going to put it? Line, space, line, space. That's right, line 2 is where we're going to draw our next circle. So we draw our circle so that line 2 is running right down the middle of it. And then we're going to write G. So now we have C, D, E, F, G. And if you were looking at your keyboard, 2 black keys, C, D, E, 3 black keys, F, G, A, B. So this C is here. This D is here. This E is here. this F is here, and this G is here. In conclusion, let's compare the old way with the training wheels to the new way with the treble clef. So before we would go E, 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 sh, E, 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 sh, E, G, C, D, E, sh, sh, sh. Now, with treble clef, it's the same thing, but instead of looking like that, it looks like this. The bottom line is the E line. E, 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 sh, E, 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 sh, E, G, C, D, E, sh, sh, sh. Okay, folks, long lesson today. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Takes a little getting used to, takes practice. We want our eyes to learn to recognize each line and each space as representing a letter in the musical alphabet. It's not going to happen instantly, but if you want to do it, you will do it. And once you get used to it, you'll say, I can't believe I ever thought this was hard. Also, just so you know, this isn't the only way to think about music. Lots and lots of people play by ear. They don't learn how to read music. And yet, there are some very excellent and not for nothing high-paid musicians who don't read music. They play by ear and they have different systems of thinking about music. So it's all good. I love it. If you play by ear, I'm glad. Please keep doing that. I play by ear also, but I also read music. And it's just, you want to have as many options as you can. You want to have as many tools in your toolbox as you can. And I'm going to try to give you as many musical tools as I can to help you become the best musician that you want to be. So here's to making music in 2021. Have a great day. Happy New Year.